Could the Simpsons be hiding secret messages that reveal the truth about our world? For decades, The Simpsons has entertained us with quirky humor and satirical storytelling. But could it also be hiding hidden codes and messages that expose the secrets of our world? From subtle clues about politics and society to predictions that seem to align with real-world events, this episode dives deep into whether The Simpsons is more than just a cartoon. Is it a tool for revealing the truth? Hello, everybody. Welcome back, or just welcome if this is your first time. We're getting right into question 1 here. What hidden messages have The Simpsons subtly revealed? In other words, are there hidden truths woven into the show's stories and jokes that they tell? This might seem, since we're talking about predictions, this might actually seem kind of redundant to ask the question, but you never know what the cards are going to give, so we're going to ask it anyway. What hidden messages have The Simpsons subtly revealed in the show's stories and jokes? Okay, let's pop this card out. We have the Giver. And if you happen to hear, could be snoring from the Chihuahua. It could be wind. We have a lot of wind today. And there's some construction work going on. So you never know what sounds you might hear in the background. And if you do, please just ignore. Okay, so then we have Pleasantville. Wow. I say wow because both of those cards were in the last episode's layouts. Okay. Then we have Winter. And we'll do this fourth pile and start reading. Oh, that was a weird cut. But we'll take it. And we have Suspect. Wow. Again, these are ones that we've had. There's so many cards here to choose from, and it's so amazing that there's duplicates, at least to me. All right, so what hidden messages have The Simpsons subtly revealed in the show's stories and jokes? According to this, they do give a lot of information. They do reveal a lot of information. And if you search in their cartoons, you're going to find information that the whole point of what they're doing is to bring forth freedom, our freedom. And as we've discussed before, the information that they give isn't always in black and white. You really have to look, really have to listen, kind of analyze the show in a way to find the color. And the color in Pleasantville would be the realization of, oh, wow, that's what they're actually trying to say. And in the past, I don't think they felt as free about doing this kind of giving. We'll put it that way. This kind of giving. They were a little bit frozen in time, so to speak, maybe because of the producers didn't know exactly how things would go if they would do this, but eventually they had to try it, right? You have to try something new sometimes. So that is no longer the case for them. They give on a regular basis, and again, not black and white. And with the card Suspect, I think that there's just one part of this card that fits currently, and it is the actor's last name of Lafton. Okay, so it might be suspect to people watching who know certain secrets and don't want those secrets out. However, the writers of The Simpsons put it out in the jokes and stories that make us laugh. So it can be suspect, but it's still funny. They created it to be funny, not serious, and this is how they put their subtle messages out there. So let's see. We have refocus, the sixth sense, and deja vu. So with refocus, I think they tried a number of different ways to do this, to get the information out there. And I think what they decided upon was the information was going to be helpful or useful to those people who actually could find it. And if you are one of those people that has a sixth sense towards The Simpsons, and you just kind of know that they're offering something, these episodes, and it could be all of them, okay? So if you are the sixth sense person, the person who senses things or sees things that nobody else can, you might look in all the episodes if you haven't already, because there should be messages, I think, in each one. And then they just repeat the process. For every episode, they want specific messages in. So let's see what tarot has to offer. And exciting, I did get a different deck in the mail, as I told you in the last episode. And I can actually see what they are. They're small, but the writing on them is much, much larger. All right. We have the Seven of Swords. Okay, so in what they give, in the information that they give, it isn't put out there straightforward for sure. Okay, the communication is hidden in, again, the stories and jokes of the cartoon. And unless you are looking really deeply, you just think of it as a cartoon or just a nice family-friendly kind of story or interesting story that you're watching in cartoon form. But there is much more to it than that. Then we have the Ten of Cups with Pleasantville. And this is saying that the information comes out in black and white, or what you're seeing is black and white. It's the fantastic script that they've written for any episode. And it's to build that emotional connection with the show. If you look deeper, as it's saying with the Seven of Swords, if you look deeper, you'll find the color nuggets, or maybe we should call them the Easter eggs. Then we have the Six of Pentacles with Winter. And the Six of Pentacles is, again, the giving and receiving, sharing, that kind of thing. And again, they didn't do that at first. They were kind of frozen, told just to hold. And then I think the producers, whoever was majorly in charge, says, you know what, let's do it. I think we can probably get by with sharing this stuff. It's real world stuff. We need to get it out there. So, and then we have the Chariot. So they did. They moved forward with it. And they used laughter to hide what they were doing, making sure that things moved forward and that people's minds were thinking ahead. And then we have the Lovers. And here's it's the choice card. It's the card to say you can really dig in or you can just enjoy the cartoon. Totally, totally up to you. And refocus, we have the Ten of Swords. To me, this card is thought completion. Okay, so when they refocused to choose how to put these messages into the show, that's what could allow them to actually complete those scripts, to focus their mind, to the nth degree, and to get those scripts written in such a way that even if they were suspect, nobody could be absolutely certain. And then deja vu, we have the Seven of Pentacles. So it was rinse and repeat, and the seed was planted. Because once somebody finds a nugget in a show like The Simpsons, once somebody finds a nugget, they look for more, and eventually the show ends up with a specific reputation. In this case, we have Simpsons predictions. All right, so let's get cleaned up here and go on to question 2. Okay, these are definitely a lot easier to read, and I'm hoping that if my camera is even focused enough for you to see it too, or see the words on the bottom too. But that was very, very helpful. I didn't have to stop and squint at the cards to see what in the world card I was getting. All right, nearly done here. So in this case, we have 5 questions in total. The second question here is, how do the writers of The Simpsons communicate the secret knowledge? In other words, is it mostly symbolism and code, or is it straightforward? I mean, it showed in the last one that, things are black and white, but for those people who have that sixth sense, they can find the color. All right, so let's see. We have mask. Yeah, there's certain cards that have definitely been attached to the Simpsons series here. Mask is one of them too. Second card is Daddy, Don't You Walk So Fast. And we've got Winter. And last, a wee cut. We have Bird Box. All right, so again, how do the writers of The Simpsons communicate secret knowledge? Is it through mostly symbolism or codes, or is it straightforward? So what they're saying here is some of these messages or the secret knowledge that they put out there is masked to some degree. They want to make sure that they don't put stuff out there so fast that nobody can actually catch it. Because after a while, if that's how it would go, and this bird box says don't open your eyes, well, if you can't catch any of the little Easter eggs, the symbolism, the codes, that kind of stuff, you're going to stop looking, right? So they can't do it too quickly. They want to make sure that people have been kind of attached to the Simpsons show. And some people come on to that early. Some people, it takes them, a good bit of time to warm up to the possibility that there's things in there. So they may not start looking right away. But the writers made sure that they didn't do it too quickly. In other words, there's not 15 Easter eggs in one show. There might be one, maybe 2. One might be blatantly out there to see, and the other one might be, if there's 2, the other one might be pretty hidden. So then we have E.T. in the Navy. And Let It Be. One second. One of the things that they do share in The Simpsons has to do with beings from other worlds, ETs. Some of that is hidden, and some of it is right out in the open. They tend to make light of it, make it as funny as possible, so that number one, it's not scary, and number two, you can also think of the possibility of it. They don't make it rigid, this card in the Navy. They don't make it rigid. They make it kind of fun so that there's not a lot of fear surrounding it and it doesn't look as though it's real, but yet maybe it is. And once they get that, they just trust in the process of it. They know that the information that they are getting is from reliable sources. And if you go back to episode 1, 2, and 3, you'll understand what I mean if you haven't seen those already. But they know that the messages that they are getting is above board, and these messages are something that they definitely trust, and they've learned to trust in what they're doing as well. So let's take a look at what tarot has to share also. Oh, wants to flip-flop here. We will cut this deck. All right, so for Mask, we have 4 of Pentacles. And that is, there were those who, some of the writers perhaps, wanted to hang on to how they were doing things in the past, where they wanted to hang on to the old way of doing things and maybe not be quite as forthcoming with the information that they would get from their guides and so forth. And Daddy, Don't You Walk So Fast is strength. Rolling it out a little bit slowly gave them a little bit more strength in what they were doing, what they're offering, what they're giving, and, you know, making or having people wonder, really wonder, how are they knowing these things? So even though there was some reticence there, the strength came just by taking things a little bit at a time. And then with Bird Box, we have the 7 of Pentacles. It was just a matter of, you know, the seed was planted by the guides and the soulmate and the otherworldly beings and so forth. The seeds were planted, which is, you know, one of those things that they were like, the Bird Box says, don't open your eyes, because what happens if you open your eyes in that movie, you really don't know, except for you watched people go absolutely crazy. You just don't know what they see or what they've seen. But this information, the seed that was planted, they were saying, you know what? This is information they need to know. They need to open their eyes. And with Winter, we have the Ace of Wands. And the Ace of Wands is, there's no limit to the passionate subjects that they could put out there, the ones that cause the controversy and the crazy energy and that kind of thing. And they didn't want to freeze that out. They didn't want to stop time, so to speak. They wanted to move forward with warmth and fun and not make these subjects just cold, just blatantly cold, where they would make people afraid. That's not how they wanted to put these messages out there. And then with E.T., we have the King of Wands. And that is That was one of the strongest things they could do with the show was ETs. And I think those shows have probably been pretty popular because there's a lot of people who have the wonderment. Are we the only ones in the universe? I highly doubt it. I think it would be one of those, we'd be pretty smug if we thought we were the only ones. And this is just saying that the structure is there. It's humans, it's ETs, it's other beings, wherever they might come from. The structure is there, and it is very, very strong. And then we have the Three of Cups with the Navy. They're all in on it. They're all working with the show's stories and jokes to get the information out there to the public. And we have Six of Wands. And that is just a harmony card, an energetic harmony. They're okay with the information that they are putting out there from the guides and the soulmate and etc. They're in harmony with that. That energy is pure and harmonious and does good things for them. So they're okay with it. So the answer to the question is yes, they are communicating secret knowledge slowly, putting it out there, maybe 1 or 2 nuggets in each episode, maybe only 1 in each episode, but it is in subtle messages. It's sometimes symbolism, it's sometimes code. And I mean, code could be numbers on the screen, numbers on one of the cartoon buildings, numbers on the Simpsons house, license plate, etc. That kind of thing. And it could be just out there right in front of your face. One of them, and I think when they do that, I think they probably do more than one reveal, or, a reveal that is connected. I think, it's not just, oh, let's tell them about this rocket going to the moon, and then another one that's like giant spiders are invading. No. These are connected Easter eggs. So a show will have connected messages. Okay, so let's get this one cleaned up and go to question 3. I hope you're enjoying this because I so much enjoy doing it. It's a really fun way to read things, and it just, the time, I mean, a lot of these episodes are an hour long, but it goes so quickly because it's fun. It's just fun. So if you like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing, and please like the episode because that makes the channel grow more quickly. All right, so question number 3. Is there a deeper coded meaning behind recurring themes or characters? In other words, do any of the characters or themes represent something more than they seem? In other words, hinting at real world secrets. So this could be, I would imagine, in the clothing. This could be a hairstyle. It could be a hairpin. It could be the shoes. It could be all of a sudden how they're acting, that kind of thing. So we have Gladiator. They could be suddenly putting on airs and acting like someone else completely. They could be suddenly dressing differently. They could be all of a sudden have some kind of talent we've never seen before. So that's Hand-Me-Down World. Oh, that one turned the wrong way. Okay, and we have Love Me or Leave Me. And Look at that. They just want to, they're so excited to be a part of this reading. They just want to plop right out there. Okay. All right. And we have the blob. Okay, so question reminder, is there a deeper coded meaning behind recurring themes or characters in The Simpsons show? Now, in one of the previous episodes, the gladiator was our spirit guide time traveler. But as you see from this card, here is somebody who is in costume, okay? He's in the costume of the period, which is what actors do, okay? They change roles, they change costumes. And I think this is going somewhere with this. Hand-Me-Down World is a card that is, well, one, it's a call to action, and two, it asks questions. So I feel like this is saying that what the characters do, what the writers create within the characters, is a way for us to perhaps think and ask questions. And if you don't like what you see or you don't like what you come up with, you can love it or leave it, for sure. The only thing it might end up doing to you is leaving the blob in your mind, putting up a block. I mean, if you prefer not to pay attention to it, you'll be putting up a block within your mind. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that is how you prefer, how you prefer to watch the cartoon, is just watch the cartoon. It's okay. There's other people out there that are going to be digging for these Easter eggs that they know that the writers are doing. But yes, the characters, what they wear, the things they say, the way that they act, all of those things are, in certain episodes, coded messages. So we have Harry Potter. Take the money and run. The company she keeps. Not sure why I took out of order, but must have been meant to. All right, so again, like in Harry Potter, I mean, that's like a super popular show, obviously, just like The Simpsons. And these characters they all have different roles. They all do different things within the Harry Potter series. And as they get older, they do even more things, a little more, well, it gets a little bit scary towards the end, right? With what they have to go through and so on. So again, how these characters are represented in each episode of The Simpsons is saying it definitely has to do with, as I said, the outfits, the hairstyles, the way they act, the things they say. Everything could be a code. Everything could be part of a specific thing. Now, keeping in mind that it did say, is there a deeper Is there a deeper coded meaning behind recurring themes or characters? Now, Simpsons has, it's the family unit. So we know that a lot of the information is going to come through those characters because they're the main characters. Recurring themes, if they do, I'm going to say nearly back-to-back E.T., okay, shows. Say there's, a few shows between, but not a lot of shows between. And then it goes forward and we have another one with a little different kind of way of looking at the ETs, but they're back again. I'm going to say recurring themes like that, they want you to pay attention to those specific shows because there's a message about ETs in there. And when it says take the money and run, this is not how the writers of The Simpsons work. As we've seen in previous episodes, money is not their motivation. But it is on corporate, okay? Corporate is always wanting more money. We have corporate greed, we have hidden corruption, and perhaps they're saying here that this is one of those things that they're offering up in various episodes, and maybe many episodes, where there is corporate greed and there is hidden corruption and there are power plays going on. And we know there's wealth hoarding because of Mr. Burns. So some of these are information that they offer, as well as magic. You know, they don't turn down any possible moment to put something out there that they feel is important to see. And it works because people get invested in the show. They love the show and they get invested. They've gotten invested in these characters. Some people may look at the characters as just characters and not realize that these characters, how they're written for a specific episode, is very important to secret Easter eggs. So let's see what tarot has to share. So with Gladiator, we have 6 of Pentacles. And this is saying that this is the way the writers came up with offering a good number of informations that weren't blatantly in your face by sharing physical things, physical looks. Maybe the show might be about health. That's a physical thing. Be about health, which might be talking about a health issue that the world is having in real time. Hand-me-down world, we've got 10 of Cups, which we had in that position, I think, in the last question. And again, this is completing the emotional bond. It's necessary to have that emotional bond for you to really get to know the characters, so that you know when something is different. You know when the writers have changed it up a bit. Why would they do that? Why would they do this when these characters have been like this forever? And then with the Ace of Cups, as we said, if you don't like or don't want to look for Easter eggs or whatever in The Simpsons, it's love me or leave me. So you can love the show just as it is. It has amazing potential. It opens up a whole gamut of emotion, and you don't have to go any deeper than that. You can just enjoy the show for what it is. The Blob, we have the 4 of Pentacles. And there are those people who prefer to hold on to what they believe a cartoon is supposed to be, and that's just a cartoon. So they put the block up in their mind so that there's no coded messages that can come through, nothing that they notice different about the characters. Then we have the Hermit. Deciding what to do with the characters takes some ingenuity. And they do sometimes have to, go off on their own in, a meeting room or whatever, and really talk about what works for the Simpsons show specifically. If they're going to do a show on magic, are they going to use the Harry Potter cast in their show? Or are they going to have the Simpsons dress up in that way? What message do they need to give, and how do they need to give it? Then we have the 8 of Pentacles. What they do, they are mastering. They've done it for so long, but still, it doesn't mean that the work is finished. This girl is painting decorations on the butterfly. How many butterflies are there out there? If she has to paint on every one of them, she's doing millions and millions and millions of butterflies. year after year after year. And that's what the Simpsons are doing as well. They are using a lot of what happens in our world within the Simpsons cartoons and disguising it in really amazing ways. And then we have the Ten of Wands. And that is, the energy is completed. When they help the viewers reach the ultimate, what do I want to say? Ultimate emotion with The Simpsons. Gets them hooked. I mean, they really, really want, the company she keeps. They don't want to miss a single episode because it's almost like they're a part of the show. And that's when the writers know that they're doing things the right way, that the energy is complete. They are exactly doing things exactly as they should be. And that allows, again, for people who are really interested in the messages and, predictions is this series. Not everything within the Simpsons show is predictions. Some of it is, warnings. Some of it is just real world, you need to pay attention to this. Things like that. It's not only predictions. All right, so let's get things put back where they belong and move on to question 4. I'll have to go back and mix all these up again because we don't want them exactly the same. We don't want the piles exactly the same for every episode. So I try to mix them up after 2 or 3 episodes. All right, so question 4. Are these hidden messages intentional or accidental? And this is one of those let's just reiterate questions because other episodes every episode kind of has an answer to this in a way. And I guess maybe we should say, are all the hidden messages intentional or are they accidental? In other words, are the writers doing it on purpose every time? Or are they sometimes putting things in by accident just because they're so used to doing things that they just kind of know, or it just happens? So we have Independence Day. Hope that made sense. Do the Simpsons writers sometimes get a surprise of their own that they didn't expect to find in their writing? Kind of like the old saying, we have Groundhog Day, kind of like the old saying for some writers, if you're a book writer, novel writer, the writers will often say that the book writes itself. It takes on a life of its own and writes itself. That's kind of the premise with this. And we have 7 days leave. And the next pile. All right, we have 1. Okay, so are there hidden messages, or are these hidden messages intentional or accidental? And again, looking at it from the standpoint of, is every single message planned, or do some of these come out by accident? I think it's saying here with Independence Day that occasionally there is something that stands out to them, something that is independent of what they do. A message that they didn't even expect to be in their writing, that they see after the episode comes out, or after, I don't know how often they view what they do, but maybe they're so focused on, number one, the episode, how to put any other messages out there, that they don't realize that there's another one in there. And this hasn't just happened one time. It is a repetitive thing. So even they are surprised sometimes, and it kind of makes you wonder, do they have divine help? Somebody that guides their writing and says, oh, you need to do it this way, and they do, and then they're surprised. Not all of it is done in the past. They might have tried to have everything that they put out there with symbolism and that kind of thing. They were like all talking codes, all talking. So if Lisa would say something specific, there was a code in there. If Homer would say something, there was a code in there. So it was basically, their codes were all, and messages were all through vocabulary, talking. But then they left that in the past. So there's a lot of different ways that this can show itself. And it has made The Simpsons, what they do has made The Simpsons a #1 show. It is totally alone in its mystery with these messages and that kind of thing. So we have Over the Top, Carry On Wayward Son, and Me and You and a Dog Named Boo. So with Over the Top, I feel like this is saying that every once in a while, wherever that extra coincidental message comes from, sometimes it's over the top. They look at it and go, how could we possibly have missed that when we were writing? Really? It's like blatantly right there in your face. And it happens to them over and over and over again, where they just really, it's a surprise to them too, which keeps things kind of fun. It makes them want to keep going with what they're doing. It makes them never want to give up or ever let the show end, for sure. And with Me and You and a Dog Named Boo, it's enjoyable for them to allow people to escape out of the ordinary. And this card, I think, also showed up in like episode 1, where maybe it was 1. Anyway, it's 1, 2, or 3. And where they were finding out where a lot of this information came from. It's a togetherness of very close beings. So the writers, the spirit guides of the writers, very close. The soulmate in the alternate reality, or soulmates now, who knows, in the alternate reality, very close to the writers, and so forth. So Me and You and a Dog Named Boo, traveling and living across the land. Okay, so they just are covering every aspect of everything. So yes, it is a surprise once in a while, even for the writers, that something gets snuck in there. And it's kind of I think their guides and their angels and so forth, the ones that they work with, I think it's kind of a fun thing for them to pull. So they're having a little bit of a good time. In other words, the other beings are having a little bit of a good time in offering up something that even the writers didn't catch. It's fun for them. So let's move on to tarot. We have Temperance. And again, with Independence Day, there's a balance. I mean, these beings don't go over the top, so to speak. They will throw something in there every once in a while. It's not like every episode. They're very balanced, and they know when the right time is to do it. We have the 6 of Cups for Groundhog Day. And this is a card of nostalgia. So when these extra bits and pieces of hidden messages or codes or that kind of thing go in, I think what these beings do is use something from the writer's past, something that happened more than once, so that they'll notice it. It might be important to their own path. And it could be a hidden message that only they see, only they realize. But it could also be connected with many. And the Four of Cups. This was just letting it go. Letting things unfold the way that they did, or they do now. In other words, they no longer had to choose to have the messages come out with talking. It could be other ways, the background story and so forth. So they would oftentimes get an idea and let it go if it went back to the all talking. They don't want to do that now. And one, we have King of Wands, and yes, they're right at the top of their game, right at the top of the energy. They are, Simpsons is a #1 show. It is, the energy of it is just, it's been structured in such a way that it can only win. We'll put it that way. Over the top, we have Two of Cups. And again, this goes back to the connection that these guides have with these writers. They know exactly what to do to connect the writers to see the coincidental message or code. And they also know how to connect them up to help them write the episodes for everything that we are supposed to see as well, that some of us catch, some of us don't. And then we have the Chariot. This is what keeps them moving forward. It's what keeps them thinking in a completely different manner. They don't give up on the show. I don't even know if they really get writer's block a whole lot anymore because they have so much help. Nine of Swords. This is where the beings that they get much of their real world information from, they're having fun with the writers, okay? Having fun in such a way, and in some ways they are addressing fears and anxieties that these writers have in their own lives, okay? In these, if there's something that they're really struggling with, and maybe they've been talking to each other and saying, hey, I'm having a really hard time sleeping because my brain is doing this. They might address that in one of the cartoons that they put out there. And it is for that specific writer. This is their way of bringing dynamic energy to the scripts, keeping things fresh. We're almost, when we're at the 9, we're almost at the 10. That's, 10 is completion. For some people, 9 is completion. So they're seeing them finish the scripts, help the writers finish the scripts, and then the potential of what they see, there just is there's no limit to that. So the answer, yes, there are accidental and intentional coded messages within The Simpsons. Sometimes a surprise even to the writers of the show. They don't catch it as they're doing it, but when they watch the episode, they catch it all of a sudden, and it can be personal to a specific writer, which is fascinating, really fascinating. And since many of us have kind of, the same issues in some way, I mean, let's say one of the writers is saying, oh, I'm not sleeping very well, I don't know what's going on. Well, that's something that not just the writer can relate to. There's many people out there that have insomnia. And it could be something that, that particular message that the beings are putting in there as coincidence, maybe they are helping others as well, knowing that that is, perhaps a much bigger problem than just for the writer, if that made sense. Okay, so we're going on to the last question in this episode. Last question is, what impact do these hidden messages have on society or the future? Do these hidden messages, when we understand them, affect how we understand what's going on in the world? Does it suddenly give an aha moment? If there's something going on, a real world event, does it, or a possibility of a real world event, does it give us an aha moment to either know for sure it's going to happen or just to understand things better? So we have divine timing and we have Night of the Living Dead. We have the Green Mile. See, sometimes they just want to jump. Take me, take me. All right, then we have the Stepford Wives. I've not seen the new one of that. I know the old one, but I've not seen the new one. All right, so again, just to reiterate, what impact do these hidden messages have on society or the future? And do they affect our understanding of the world or future events? Okay. Divine timing is something that we need to understand. I think they're saying here, because everything happens in divine timing. Almost as though so much is planned. And, the plan, it would be way too much for our brains to comprehend as to what has to be connected up and who needs to do what and how things need to be done and in what time period and so forth to make a specific event happen. It's divine, okay? It's divine timing. Whatever is going on is divine timing, because everybody has specific contracts that they built for their life path before they were ever born. So everything has to mesh together, and it's almost like it's all been predestined. But because of free will, it doesn't have to go exactly according to plan, okay? So with Night of the Living Dead, there's a lot of events that are repetitive. Things that happen over and over and over in history. The magic behind everything that goes on in the world probably will never be understood, okay? Which is maybe why they've put a show like The Simpsons out there for us. Things just never really look the way that they're supposed to, or we might see one thing and it isn't actually what's happening. So in the Stepford Wives, they moved into a specific neighborhood and, some of these women were normal and then suddenly they were robotic almost. And the woman who was still okay was totally freaked out because she didn't want to turn into that. That's not who she was. So things aren't always what they seem. And there can be a lot more going on than anybody realizes. Then we have ascending, signs, and material world. This makes a lot of sense here. One of the big stories currently is ascension. It is our vibrations rising, okay, so that we can move into the fifth dimension. It is part of the age of Aquarius. It's what's supposed to happen, where everyone becomes, well, most everyone becomes enlightened and they ascend out of this material world and into the fifth dimension, which is meant to be a world of wonder, a world where everything is beautiful, okay? Everything is perfect. There are signs, okay, perhaps about this ascension within the Simpsons, but we're also given signs to look for, I think, within the Simpsons show. Excuse me. So in other words, if you watch a specific Simpsons show and it's showing you that there are extraterrestrials flying down or, surrounding the earth, whatever the case happens to be, they're telling you, and then you see more signs about that. So in other words, it's kind of like the writers. They get specific. I'm having a hard time with this, aren't I? Okay, the writers get specific signs from their soulmate, from the gladiator, from their spirit guides, from otherworldly beings, etc. They get signs so that they know what event in the world to write about, to use as a catalyst for an episode, okay? We get signs too from after we've seen the episode, or we could, okay? If it's something that in divine timing we really need to see, divine intervention kind of, then we'll receive signs too. And they will be signs in our material world, something that, and not the cartoon, but something that branches off from the material world. So let's say Simpsons used a song in the show, and a day later you hear that same song on the radio, and then you hear it again later on in the day, and it's maybe a song, Homer's, like taking care of business kind of guy. And, you might hear a song like that, and that's something that you're meant to pay attention to with whatever subject matter that particular Simpsons show had, okay? If you get a sign after the fact, 1, 2, 3, 4 signs, and I would take multiple before I just assume that that's what it is. It's an episode you specifically need to pay attention to, and that may be happening to other people at the same time. You just don't know it yet. So these hidden messages do have an impact on us and on society. And it is a divine kind of thing. It's divine timing, but it's also kind of magical what's happening. Helping us to perhaps reach the reach the ascending or the ascension, and perhaps reach, ascension more quickly. Hard to say. So let's go further here with tarot. Sometimes my brain actually goes faster than my mouth when it comes to these readings, and I have to slow myself down to go, okay, you're not making any sense, you're babbling. All right, so with divine timing, we have Two of Pentacles. And yes, with the Two of Pentacles and divine timing, sometimes we understand, sometimes we don't understand. When we're meant to understand, it is a divine timing kind of thing. When the episode comes out, it's a divine timing kind of thing. Then we have the Queen of Swords with Night of the Living Dead. She's on the lookout for the truth, as all of us are. So, if we get a lot of repeat things, we're on the lookout as to why. Why does this keep showing up? We want the truth of this. This is how it works. We want the truth, and we're going to pay attention to what we need to, one way or another. It's going to affect us. We will eventually get a better understanding. And it's showing here that we all have the intuition built into us. Okay, we have powerful intuition. And, that's part of ascension. Our intuition is over the charts. We have telepathy. There's so many different things about ascension and the fifth dimension. Those things are slowly coming forward for all of us. It seems like magic right now. But that intuition is something that we all have and have always had. So if we need an understanding of something, or we need to see whether we believe a future event is possible, we can ask our intuition. We can ask our higher selves, which is connected to that intuition, at least in my opinion. And then we have the Queen of Wands. Look at the queens. We have 3 queens here. This is caring and nurturing for yourself and the world. Okay? So what these messages, what these signs are attempting to share with you, what you're seeing in the hidden messages of the Simpsons, is how to care for the world, how to care for yourself, how to care for other people, how to find the truth, how to hold the energy, hold the light, and not become just one of those people like Night of the Living Dead and, the Stepford robotic wives that do everything that they're told, and how to open up to the magic of it all. And then with ascending, we have the 9 of Swords. Oh yeah, there's a lot of anxiety out there for things that are seen. People, if they see an episode on ETs, oh geez, or a movie, Independence Day, or they see something on, a contagion of some sort, or there are so many things that cause fear that it can slow down this ascension process. We have to know how to let go of that fear. And the signs are very helpful with that. Very helpful. We have 4 of Pentacles. Yeah, see, holding on to the fear, we can't do that. We will miss those signs. Those extra signs that might be coming to us for something we need to understand. And remember, we talked about how, in the previous question, how if one of the writers is having a specific issue that they don't know how to solve, that could be written into the episode, and it could affect more than just the writer. It could give truth to more than just the writer. It could help him or her solve the issue. But you have to be able to let go of the physical holdbacks, I guess you could say, so that you can get the extra signs. And then we have the Ace of Swords. The material world is the material world. We are a part of that. However, we have the potential to open our minds to help us fully understand what's going on in the material world, what's being shown by the Simpsons of possible future events or real world events, predictions that they have, and so forth. We can open our own minds. Again, intuition, magic, holding the light, looking for the truth, wanting to know the truth, because that's what's best for you. This question went totally different than what I expected it to do, but it makes perfect sense. So I hope it does for you as well. Look for those signs from the Simpsons show in the real world. And I'm not saying that, let's say in the Simpsons show, it had, again, a song. We'll use that. A song played. Okay. You yourself might get a sign of that song playing, yes, but it might also be just the title of the song that you see, or the band that sings it. Or you might hear it play in a movie, or somebody might be singing it on the street. Okay, so it's not necessarily going to come to you in just exactly the way you saw it on The Simpsons show. So be open to all of that. Okay, everybody, that is it for this episode. We have The Simpsons, we have the Twilight Zone inspired shows, and we also have Fringe inspired shows all in 1 week. So with The Simpsons, next week, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Fringe inspired shows are Friday, 3 p.m. And then Twilight Zone is Sunday at 10 a.m. So I hope you've enjoyed this and gotten a little more out of it. This was one of those that kind of went its own way. So that's okay. We go with the flow, right? So until next week, have a great week. Take care.